ones. This is Nicole Marie, your transformational catalyst and coach, here to talk about power struggles in relationships. Now, I also want to talk about not just our romantic relationships, but the relationship with ourselves and our global community. In this episode, I want to get really clear on the different types of power, so the masculine, feminine power, what it means to be masculine, feminine, and the current cosmic story of power right now in global and personal awareness. So first, I would like to be very clear that when I talk about masculine and feminine, I am not talking about gender. So we both have masculine and feminine energy within all of us. So what does that look like? Masculine energy can be seen as fire, where it's very direct, it's focused, it's purpose-driven. Feminine energy can be seen like water, very fluid, receptive, creative. We have both of these aspects within ourselves. Now let's go back for a moment and remember the time of matriarchy, when tribes and societies lived with the moon cycles, where women were actually the rulers because they were seen as the ones that could create life in their bellies. This was before a time that men understood that their sperm was part of that creation. They honored the feminine. They drank their menstrual blood. There was a lot of worship of the body of a woman. And there is a lot of this inside of us, this need to be worshiped, this need for feminine power to be governed from a place of receiving energy from the earth. This is how women held their power. They were very much connected to nature. They lived by the moon cycles, and they gave from a heart-centered place, meaning that they did it of service. So every child that was being born as a soul to the tribe. They weren't being born as a daughter of a unit or a family that would then match unfulfilled aspects within themselves. It was very much about being a vessel of creation. Now, once man understood that they had something to do with creation of babies, meaning they finally understood that their sperm had a meaning, this slowly went into the patriarchy, which we are in right now, where man has become this almighty powerful, and their sense of power is about accomplishment, about having power over things, about manipulation, greed, and money. Now, we are in a time where we can no longer go back to a matriarchal, we can no longer sustain a patriarchal, and we're having to create a harmony within ourselves. But there is this very old pattern that exists in our cellular memory. So right now, we have a lot of awareness and conscious abilities of like, okay, we need to be in a new paradigm. We don't want to be married. We want to be free. And there's all this just wanting to live a different purpose, because we're not wanting to be stuck in these power struggles in relationships. So first, I want to admit that when we're struggling in relationship outside of us, it means that there's a disharmony within us, that we have not created a sacred union between our own masculine and feminine energy. For me, this is one of the key components to finding and fulfilling our own love story. Why are you attracting partners that are weak or vulnerable or stubborn, or all these aspects that you feel we're not a good match? Maybe he's too rational, she's too spiritual. There's these conflicting matters because there's a disharmony within us, because we are judging that other part of ourselves. We are angry at men for suppressing us long enough. So there's a lot of pain and anger that exists within us. And this is what I'd like to kind of introduce, this concept of how do we create harmony within ourselves so that we can be better partners and lovers to ourselves and to the world. So why I wanted to talk about this theme right now is that Saturn is in retrograde. Ever since April 30th, something has shifted in our lives, in our awareness, in our belief system. Somewhere in your life, a huge shift has happened. But the shift has made you feel limited, has made you feel incredibly expanded, a sense of needing to be free. So right now what I feel is going on, there's a lot of relationships that are taking time out or that have had dramatic endings that seem out of nowhere. And all this is teaching us is that our soul needs to create discipline for our own evolution. So Saturn is the archetypal father that says, no, get to work, be responsible, and do what you came here to do. Not easy if you're really off that path, or if you feel like you've been working in at a job that dissatisfies you and all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I literally can't do it because now I have a physical illness and I can't not work. So Saturn works in mysterious ways to allow you to show up for your mission here on life. And the reason why there's this power struggle in ourself is because we are relating to old patterns. We still have in our system how our parents acted during marriage, how we see other relationships working, and also a place of not knowing who we are. Knowing who you are, how you need to be loved, is essential to self-empowerment and of sacred union. Now, when I talk about sacred union, I'm talking about a place of devotion for the duality within yourself and within the world. That the more hate and the more judgment that we put on men and our unwillingness to forgive the patriarchy is causing us harm. That we're denying men to embody their own feminine, which has also been suppressed. Men have forgotten that they are suppressing one of the most vulnerable and powerful places within us and within themselves. So when we talk about feminine rising, the female warriors, we also have to make space for that in the men in our lives and not judging them for not knowing how to be a man. Because right now, men are being reborn just as much as women. And it is our sacred act and responsibility to do this inner work for ourselves. So let's just look at power for a moment and how masculine energy radiates a different kind of power. Its power is very outward. It's purpose-driven. It's penetrating. It says, I. Feminine power is silent, submissive to deep warrior wisdom energy from the earth. Feminine power is about walking barefoot on the land and receiving the energy from earth all the way up her cells, up into her body, and opening her heart. And so we are all needing to step in this feminine power, both man and woman, to generate power from a heart-centered place, that we need to love all those aspects of ourselves, that we need to forgive all the rape, pain, persecution, and destruction of what we knew we didn't know how to change. This act of radical love is the most potent medicine that we can give ourselves and for others. So right now, Saturn is teaching us of what is limiting our life experience, and where in relationship have we gone wrong? Why are we pushing those parts away from ourselves? And how can we show up for our own love story? Because when the soul leads through life, we open up to the great love that exists within everything. So, your practice right now, since Saturn will be in retrograde until September 12th, this is a time of self-discipline, of radical self-love. And also, I want to remind us that this has been happening since last November, that the lunar nodes, the south node is in Capricorn, the north node is in Cancer. And it shows us that we're letting go of the old patriarchal patterns of power, and we're moving into self-love, self-acceptance, and emotional intelligence. That we only follow what feels good in our life, and that we stop saying yes to things that we know we shouldn't do, and say no to having boundaries of really loving ourselves, no to food that doesn't feel good, no to relationships that aren't working, and to harmonize within ourselves. So I deeply advise during this time to be responsible for yourself, to love yourself, and to know that you are born for magic, dear ones, and that you have the love of the universe behind you to celebrate you, to welcome you back into this world. So thank you for tuning in today and for learning more about the current cosmic power struggles in the universe and why they are there. They're teaching you of your strength and for the greater love of this world and your life. Now, if you want to learn more about where this Saturnian energy is in your chart and how to work with it in your own relationship with yourself or your beloved, you can contact me at hello@nicolemarie.eu or check out my website, nicolemarie.eu. Until then, be brave, dear hearts, for we are in a time of great transformation. Blessed, blessed, blessed be.